Hi there, I'm Tom Field. I'm Senior Vice President of Editorial with Information Security Media Group. Very pleased to welcome you to our webinar today, where the topic is Bot or Not Isn't Good Enough, Rethinking Bot Protection for the Age of AI Agents. Joining me today is Ian Halder, Principal Product Manager with Harness. But before I bring him onto our virtual stage here, let me give you some background on our session. Most bot management tools were designed for a different era, one where automation could be spotted by mouse movements or browser fingerprinting. But in today's world of AI agents and headless automation, that approach no longer works. According to Forrester, 53% of Gen Z consumers are already interested in using AI agents to browse, transact, and make decisions online. These agents bypass front-end JavaScript challenges and directly interact with APIs, making traditional bot defenses blind to their activity. In this session, we'll break down how bot threats have evolved, why the lines between bots, fraud, and AI agents are collapsing, and how Traceable's third-generation bot protection brings intent, API flow, and behavioral context into every detection decision. First, a little bit of background on my organization. Information Security Media Group is a global education and intelligence firm. We're based in the U.S. in Princeton, New Jersey, and you may know us by any number of our 38 media properties. These include Bank Info Security, Data Breach Today, and AItoday.io. In all, we serve an audience of over 1.8 million security and technology leaders globally, and we give them a daily diet of news, analysis, research, events, and educational programs just like this one. A few quick notes of housekeeping. If you have any questions for Ian, you can submit them anytime via the chat window on your screen. We may not get to every question today, but in that case, we will get responses back to you via email. Should you encounter technical issues while viewing today's webinar, take down that email address you see on your screen. If you write to webinars@ismg.io, we've got support staff standing by to help. And a reminder, today's webinar is copyrighted material meant for today's session and individual study purposes only. If you would like to use any of the information presented today, or if you're looking for customized training materials, please contact us. I'm thrilled to introduce our sponsor today. Harness is the leading end-to-end platform for complete software delivery. It provides a simple, safe, and secure way for engineering and DevOps teams to release applications into production. Harness uses AI and machine learning to monitor the quality of deployments and automatically roll back failed ones, saving time and reducing the need for custom scripting and manual oversight, giving engineers their nights and weekends back. Harness customers accelerate deployments by up to 75%, reduce infrastructure costs by up to 60%, and decrease lead time for changes by up to 90%. Harness is based in San Francisco. You can learn more at harness.io. Now, Traceable's intelligent and context-aware solution powers complete API discovery and posture management, API security testing, and application and API protection anywhere your apps and APIs live. Its unified platform replaces fragmented tools with a coordinated approach to discovery, testing, and protection. Traceable enables organizations to minimize risk and maximize the value that applications and APIs bring their customers, whether defending against bots, abuse, or zero-day API exploits. Traceable secures what matters most: your applications, your APIs, your business. Learn more at traceable.ai. And now let's meet Ian. Again, he's a principal product manager with Harness. He's a leading voice in cybersecurity, and he drives the company's bot and fraud protection initiatives. He has over a decade of experience, including 6 years focused on bot and fraud detection. With that, welcome to the center stage here, Ian Halder. Ian, thank you so much for joining me in this webinar today.
Thank you so much for having me, Tom. It's great to be here.
To start here, talk about how bot threats have evolved in recent years, and then how bot management has evolved most in this age of AI and agents.
Yeah, and that's a great question, Tom. I believe bot management has been a mature market. It's been a decade of tools that help with bot management. And what we are seeing over the last, I would say, 2 to 3 years is a rapid change in how bots, as we classically knew it, have started to evolve and how that is getting into the general masses. So To give some background, we can generally classify bots into two types. One is the good bots, and the second are the bad bots. Now, good bots are the ones where you can think of your SEO bots, the Google bots, or the Meta bots, who are generally using it for good purposes, like your scraping and indexing and things like that. And the good bots declare themselves in the sense that they would tell you that I am the one who I claim to be, and I am here for these specific purposes. The bad bots are the ones who come to the website or the platform of a particular business for a variety of reasons, primarily for malicious purposes. And this is the era where the bad bots have been supercharged with AI agents. So if we look down if we look down the history, I see it as three different generations of bad bots. The first was basically the era of simple, high volume, and noisy bots. And their entire goal was go scrape a website, deploy simple scripts, and then use that scraped content to for a variety of purposes. And they were not super sophisticated, so you can act on them for using simple, IP-based blocking or certain very simplistic rules. You can identify based on your IP reputation and user agent. And even that is the time when actually we started seeing the evolution of CAPTCHA. You show them the CAPTCHA and with the assumption that they cannot solve it, and that's how you would stop those bots. So that's where this started somewhere between early 2000 and continued for a decade of that. And then because there is a parallel economy of attackers, they are actually very, very incentivized to continue innovating and surpassing these different these barriers or defenses. They started improving and they started mimicking humans. So the 2010 and beyond, we started seeing this evolution of bots where they would be extremely sophisticated. Like they would rotate their user agents. They would come from distributed IP addresses and basically use different botnets to come and attack or achieve the malicious purpose that they are coming onto that platform for. And the simplistic IP-based rate limits or IP reputation didn't help. So a lot of bot management tools started to evolve at that point. And things like device fingerprinting came along, browser fingerprinting came along. A lot of behavioral analysis came along where the tools would look for the different click points or the mouse movement patterns or the tap patterns on different phones and try and understand whether this is particularly a bot or not. And this is also a point when bot management started to become extremely prevalent across the different web properties. Bot Manager, WAF, these are the first two tools that anybody would think of when they are standing up a new platform that has a web-facing that has a users who are interacting via browsers, right? Now, what happened, I think over the last few years, 2019 or 2020 and beyond, we are seeing a third evolution. And the third evolution is when you started seeing this evolution of AI. And then now you have a way more adoption of AI, the agentic part of part of artificial intelligence. So when you rightly pointed out that 53% or 56% of users are actually deliberately handing over their tasks to the AI. So now what do you do? Like now the users are saying that, hey, instead of me, I want this bot to go and do this work for me. So this actually brings a very, very interesting question. Like, do you still need that binary classification of is it a bot accessing my website or not? Or do you go deeper? Because even though you differentiate, I think I should say that the bot management tools are doing a fabulous job. They are doing exactly what they were designed to do. They're classifying between bots and not. But the question is, once you identify that these are bots, now what? Do you stop them or do you not? And how do you understand whether this was orchestrated by a human who is your legitimate customer versus somebody who is an attacker or has some malicious intent behind deploying that particular agent? So this is the journey that we are seeing where the bot threats have been evolving over time, and now it is supercharged. And as a result, the bot management tools have evolved to a point, but now it has come to a point where the fundamental assumption of of doing that distinction between bot and human is itself at a question at a pass.
Given that overview, where would you say traditional bot management and strategies tools fall short today?
Yeah, I think, and going back to my earlier point, that bot management tools does a fabulous job at that differentiation of bots and humans. But I think there are four areas in which they are falling short, specifically in this age of this overuse of or usage of agentic AI. I think the first is that bot management tools are designed to assess individual requests or aggregate requests at best. So that they're able to identify based on that either that individual request or that aggregate request of whether this is a bot or not. And the problem there is that they do not have the full context of the user. They don't know who is initiating the request, what their intent is, and what the ultimate goal is. They are basically narrowly focused on this set of requests that and trying to differentiate between bots or humans. So that's one. The second is the simplistic bot or not classification. This goes to the point that whether it's a bot or not is obviously a point that you want to make, but the bot management tool doesn't go beyond and say that, this may not be a bot, but this definitely has some malicious intent behind it. So that is where that is where they're still falling short right now. The third is, and looking at the market, I think there are all the bot management providers have two distinct offerings. One is a bot management solution, and the second is an account protection solution. Now, if you think from an attacker's perspective, they really don't care about the different tools or different solutions. Their goal is, I'm going to extract that money out, and I'm going to leave. And I'm going to repeat that with 10 other web properties. But if you look at how these solutions are implemented, certain customer or certain businesses would implement bot management only. Certain businesses would implement both, and then certain businesses would just go with account protection. What this leads to is a gap. So now you have account protection in some, bot protection in some, and you do not have an end-to-end visibility of what's happening. Even with both, a lot of these existing tools are falling short in saying that in digging deeper into what kind of abuse is happening within the account. They go to the point where they're saying that, okay, this is a potential account takeover, or there is a potential money laundering or money transferred out risk available, but they are unable to look deeper and say that, these are the series of steps that has been taken within this account that tells me with absolute confidence or very, very high confidence that this is going to be a problem. So that's a third. And the fourth one, it's a fundamental flaw, which is these tools are reactive. These are not proactive. And what I mean by that is they start kicking in after some portion of the attack has already gone through. And a simple analogy is, I think you can draw with like the cops. Like the cops would come in after some abuse or some kind of crime has happened, which is fair. But a lot of these tools are, you can actually think of bot management in a way which can be way more proactive than how these tools behave at this point in time.
So, Ian, what's at risk for enterprises that fail to evolve their approach? Let's set this right out straight for them.
Yeah, and that's a really good question, because this also has to do with how the enterprises are structured organizationally. So if you think about the overarching chain, the way enterprises are structured is that you have different teams responsible for different parts of the abuse or the attack. a team would be focused on determining whether this is bot or not. And then after that, there will be teams who are responsible for identifying the signals of around the account and identify whether this account was fake or whether this account was breached. And then there will be additional teams who are responsible for loss prevention or identifying money mule transactions, especially in account. Or at this point, I think any e-commerce has those kind of compliance needs where they look for money laundering, money mule, and all of those kind of situations for compliance, as well as for obviously for trust reasons. But as you can understand, like because these responsibilities are so fragmented, there is no one chain that helps them understand that, this particular attacker started this. And this particular attacker is continuing doing this, trying to probe my perimeter at different places or different points. And now they have successfully gotten through my perimeter and they are traversing this way on my platform. That single chain is unavailable. And now what happens as a result? We have seen across multiple customers. I'll give you one example. So we were working with this large bank, and the problem there is that there is a group of attackers who are creating fake accounts. They use those fake accounts to deposit uh, fake checks. They have this feature where they can deposit remote checks, and a fraction of that value of that check is made available within a few hours that can be transferred out or extracted. So they were actually creating fake accounts, depositing fake checks, waiting patiently for that fraction of that value to be available or a fraction of that money to be available. And then they were adding external bank accounts and transferring that money out, right? And throughout this process, that money was never available because those were fake checks. So that was one example, which is obviously there is a revenue loss, but there is overarching trust loss because there are less controls and consumers can legitimately go and say that, hey, how can you guarantee that my money is safe? There are other situations where we have seen mobile payments platforms where there would be a account compromise leading to money transferred out from wallets, crypto wallets, and even traditional wallets. So these are the type of abuse, I should say, or business logic abuse, where they are actually finding different ways to abuse what legitimately exists. It's not a vulnerability. It's a legitimate business logic that is there, and they're finding ways to abuse it, and they're finding ways to either harm the business or their end users or both. So this is what at stake, a huge revenue loss and as a result or as a consequence, the trust of the consumers.
And I mentioned in the introduction that the lines have collapsed between bots, fraud, and AI agents. What does that exactly mean?
I believe the line. So initially, the hypothesis when this whole industry started was that bots are bad. Now, after that, there are some regulations that creeped in and said that if you are going to operate a bot, you will have to play by certain rules, and those were your SEO bots and everything else that played by the rules that declared themselves. Other than that, everybody that did not declare themselves were assumed bad. Now, this collapse of bot, fraud, and agents is happening because humans are deciding to use bots to achieve their daily needs. That never happened before, or maybe a very, very small fraction of really sophisticated people who knew coding would set up bots or scripts to grab those Nike shoes that were available for only a limited period of time or get some deals during Amazon Prime Day. But that is actually, think of that getting democratized because of the presence of AI agents. And now everybody is trying to grab a piece of that pie. And the foundational model providers are actually creating agents, more and more sophisticated agents that are purpose built for each of these use cases. So now that instead of thinking that bots are bad, who doesn't declare themselves, now everybody's using bots And this is where the lines are completely gone on identifying that whether this is bot, and if this is bot, is it bad or not? How do you know?
So talk to me about your organization, how you're approaching bot management differently.
Traceable by harness is approaching the bot management in a completely different way. It's a fundamentally different way. And the way we think about this is that instead of trying to identify whether the incoming request is coming from a bot or a script, we try to identify whether the intent behind that request is malicious or not. So we look at the entire user journey. So if we think about Traceable started as an API security platform. And by virtue of that, we are looking at all the different API requests, their responses, and so on and so forth. And because we have that visibility, we are able to see how a specific user is traversing through the platform of the customers or the businesses that we protect. Now, based on that, we are able to identify and map the different behaviors that they're exhibiting, and also compare how those behavior is different from the other users that we are seeing on the platform. Now, theoretically, it sounds really nice, but I want to give us a very specific example. So let's say we have a financial customer and they have like tens of millions of users typically. What we do is, given the domain knowledge we have, we know that these are certain paths that are typically taken by the users. And we know that because we have the data. We know that once a user comes in to their platform, they would try to log in. They might fail. They might try to do a password reset, but eventually they would log in. Once they have logged in, they would try to check their bank account balance, probably go to their brokerage account, deposit money, so on and so forth. So the usual way of doing things. And then we basically take those usual ways of doing things. It's not one, there are multiple. So we take all of those usual ways of doing things and say that, this is good behavior. And now all of a sudden, we see one or a few different users or accounts where you see a logging in happening. And then all of a sudden, they go somewhere which is completely unexpected. For example, the mobile check deposit example that I gave. Is it a completely legitimate behavior that somebody logs in and does a mobile check deposit? Absolutely not. But what is the chances that that happens over time? Multiple accounts doing the same thing. Or um, let's say they do a mobile check deposit, they immediately add an external bank account and they try and probe the perimeters of the guardrails that has been put by the bank. That, am I allowed to extract money now? If not now, they come back 3 hours later and say that, am I allowed to extract now? So they keep doing this probing, and we are basically monitoring this entire path for every probing that they're doing. And then basically, because we are able to monitor, we are able to say that, hey, this is enough. You should not, basically to the bank, that you should not allow this particular customer or this account to extract that money out or add an external bank account. So we are bringing this intent to the flow, where instead of looking at the external characteristics like device or browser or IP, we are looking at what the user is doing on the platform, and what they're doing, is it expected or is it not?
Would you say that's a common use case and those are common results you deliver to your customers?
Yes. So the financial services, we have a lot of financial services as customers, and money transferred out, money mule transactions. Um, these are very typical common use case. What we usually see is that it start off as an account takeover or a fake account creation. So either that account is taken over because it was phished from a legitimate user or a legitimate consumer of that bank. And then once it's phished, they would try to shut down that legitimate user by changing password or doing whatnot, turning off mobile 2FA. The great thing is that a lot of banks are actually taking notice, and they are making it way more difficult than before to make those changes online. A lot of the banks, especially the bank that without naming, that I bank with, they actually make it mandatory to visit a branch to go and even hide an account or make profile related changes, right? Which are great friction to be put in,
Yeah.
but also we should acknowledge that not everybody can do, because a lot of them are actually banking, like staying somewhere like 200 miles away from the bank, from a closest bank branch, right? So yes, there are a lot of efforts going on in the banking industry or financial services industry to stop these, but there is also this parallel momentum where if you look at the federal regulations that are coming in around the FedRAMP or the other programs where you actually want to create a payment infrastructure rail to make money movement faster than what ACH is right now. So there is a parallel effort going on to make money movement faster. There are a lot of businesses out there who are actually dealing with instant money movements. There are wallets that do it. Cryptos are very famous in helping with instant money movements. So all of these, while while they offer great incentive and great convenience for consumers to come onto the platform, use their services, on the flip side, they are also a breeding ground for fraud, and basically getting like these the convenience is actually working a lot of times against the consumers.
And bottom line, what would distinguishes Traceable's approach in this crowded market space?
Yeah, I think Traceable, the way we are distinguishing ourselves is we are saying that it's not about whether the incoming user or the incoming request is a bot or not. What really matters in this agentic AI world is you want to understand whether this is going to harm your business or your consumer in some way or not. And through the different mechanisms that we are putting in place, we are basically saying that you want to look at the intent behind the user and the intent and how they are traversing through the platform, instead of trying to do a binary classification. And this is actually yielding great results at this point. A lot of times in the market, that the conversation sticks with how accurate these results are. Because if you think about a large enterprise, their ultimate goal is to operationalize these products. Not everybody can sit and investigate every incoming incident that we report. And the approach that we are taking, a lot of times these leads to 99% plus true positive rates, which means that with great confidence, our customers are actually operationalizing these. And there are certain metrics, for example, for one bank that I've been talking about earlier, we were able to reduce the effort of the analyst team who have been investing in these reports. Their total time of investigation reduced from 4 hours to less than 30 minutes, because they are actually able to see all the different abuse that are flagged against an account. And then basically they are taking the entire list of accounts, they're just going directly and freezing them instead of going through them one by one. So that's one example. But then broadly speaking, we have been flagging over 1 billion fraudulent or suspicious activities per month. And this is early start for us, but I feel that number itself speaks volume about what we have built so far. And we are trying to see where we can take it from here.
Impressive results. And where can our viewers go to learn even more?
Yeah, so www.traceable.ai is the right place to go and view the different modules we offer. Specifically, what we offer is under the umbrella of application and API protection. So the application and API protection offers the entire suite of web application protection, bot and abuse protection, and API protection. And so this entire thing is built to provide a comprehensive security and protection for any cloud native business out there.
Very good. Well, I'm grateful for your time and insight today. Thank you for answering my questions.
Absolutely great to be here. Thank you, Tom.
I want to thank our attendees as well. You took time out of your day to attend this session. We're grateful for that. And I trust you're walking away with some actionable insight here. As always, I look forward to seeing you at one of our next events. And until then, for Information Security Media Group, I'm Tom Field. Thank you for giving us your time and your attention today.